Well, good day. Good day and welcome to Mental Health and You, beloved. My name is Cynthia Timms and I am your host. Time. Let's discuss it today. Time is everywhere, and everywhere there is time. What does time mean to you in this world of hustle and bustle? What does it mean to you? Do you take it for granted? Has it changed over the years as you have changed? To help me discuss this is a photographer, because photography is a lot about time. So, longtime photographer and associate, I want to bring her on to Mental Health and You. Let's talk and let's have this discussion. On the phone, on audio today, I welcome to Mental Health and You, Jewel Shears. Hello, Jewel. How are you?
Hello, Cynthia. How are you? It's a pleasure to be here. Yes.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Finally.
Thank you very much. Jewel, I thank you for having me, for for coming on and accepting the invitation. I want to discuss, time. Something maybe a lot of us take for granted.
Right.
And I called this show in trying to develop it. Time is everything, and everything is time.
It's time. Yeah.
Time and your mental health. What does it mean to you? You're a photographer, Jewel. You've seen lots of time. You've seen pictures. You've seen pictures in time.
Mm-hmm.
What does time mean to you as a photographer, as a person, as a woman, a black woman?
Well, time means everything to me, especially when there's various things that are going on and you want to sit back sometimes and reminisce about, the good things, not say the bad things, but, things that will kind of help you through life. And, with a lot of the, individuals or people or places that I'm kind of affiliated with, it's really kind of good to know like some of the background, especially like about women issues. A lot of things like there was a phenomenal exhibition down at the Wilmer Gallery that really kind of spoke of the ladies that were overseas who had all this mail to go through and how they've been through that mail basically in a certain period of time and how they were able to put that out there with, no problems. They just did what had to be done and, how they, continue to move on to basically what people were getting their mail and they were able to really kind of help other entities as well. So it's things like that that you really kind of look back on, a lot of things that we are basically faced with and how we continue, even though we're put through certain tasks, how we continue to move forward. And,
Yes.
That's something that really means a lot to me.
How we continue to move forward. And that's what time does.
Yes.
We can look back. And that's what we as photographers, that's what we do. That's the images we create. That's the record. That's the documentation we have for history.
Right.
Our images, that's our documentation. But time still goes on.
Exactly.
I found you, we've had this discussion just before we went on that I'm thinking a lot more about time in my own life lately, in my own work as a peer counselor. And oftentimes I dare say I think about my mortality more as I've gotten older.
Right.
What am I leaving behind, my legacy? Have I wasted time? Have I used my time productively?
Exactly.
Time
But sometimes
is a
you do
time for everything, as you were
Yeah, but
saying.
sometimes, yeah, well, I agree with that, but a lot of times your like your life change. What happens when people, like they say, when they get married and things don't work out and you now have to go back and, redo your life or restart your life and you kind of look at all the things that, you may have given up to, so you thought you were going to move forward. And then
Yes.
sometimes time stands still. I can witness for that, because, had everything going on, got married and then didn't work out. But, God is good because I was able still to come back and pick up where I left off, and still basically, had a phenomenal life for myself, and even had the opportunity to move on to meet other people and brought them into my life to help me continue. Like even like now with moving forward, I do photography. What I
Yes.
do basically administratively. What I do with all my friends when we're basically putting various projects together. So this is basically, how I feel that, whatever you're going through, you need to utilize that time and utilize it to keep moving forward in a positive direction.
And how has photography how has it helped you in appreciating time, or given what lessons has it shown you, or yeah, what lessons have it shown you over the years, and how has it
Well,
changed?
well, I mean, yeah, there are a lot of changes, but photography, like when I started out, it was just, out photographing, taking pictures, sending them out,
Yes.
writing, various excerpts. And then basically when I got in touch with, I was involved with a photo group, basically with one of the nonprofits, then I got a chance to really kind of see what it was all about because, I had someone there that basically this is what they did. And they basically took the time to work with us and train us and teach us and take us out and really kind of help us move forward. And I treasure that even like now, with the way I shoot and what I shoot, and like a lot of entities that I'm involved with, as far as basically, putting certain things out there, certain things I get involved with, certain things I don't. So it depends on basically, like I said, what you're looking for, what you're looking to, sit back and speak with people about, what you're looking to kind of put out there to help excel. You just never know, basically, even putting something out there, how it may help somebody in some of the things that they're going through to kind of help them get through life or some of the issues that they may, be involved with.
And when you first started, you know, like when I first started in photography, I didn't, for me, I didn't really think that deep. I mean, I know there was a record of some sort. I used
Mhm.
to like photography. I know I like photography. I like looking at images. But
Mhm.
yeah, it was a record in the moment for me. But what part it would play in history, in my family's history, sometimes, Jill, I look at old pictures of my family talking
Mhm.
about time. And it was an old picture book that was presented to me a few years ago, many years ago, by my aunt before she passed away, by one of my aunts. And it was
Mhm.
pictures of me as a baby, my sister, my brother, my mother, my father, my grandmother. And a lot of these people are gone now.
Exactly. And you just kind of sit
And
back down and just kind of
I
yeah,
didn't
you cherish the
recognize it
memories.
then, but I'm saying this is about time. But it also tells a
Mhm.
story because time tells a story
Sorry.
of
Exactly.
where we were, where we used to be, where we
Mhm.
where we at now.
Exactly. Especially nowadays, with so much going on, and with a lot out here, and you have to really kind of like now sit back and really kind of look to me right now. Look at what you really want to be involved with. And I, don't want to say anything negative about Lucy in the White House, but you don't really have people in certain positions that are trying to help move, certain things forward. And to me, that, really brings a lot of harm because a lot of people out here are really trying to do the right thing and trying to progress and move. But then you have other people that are trying to hold you back and not putting your adequate funding to do this, that, and the third, and then brings everything to a standstill. And you ask yourself, what do I do? Where do I go? And you're want to make sure that you're making the right, we'll say the right, you're making the right choices on moving forward with certain things and not making mistakes that something's going to hold you back or kind of stop you from some of the things that you really have been looking forward to do.
Time. And it goes back to time, Jill. I think.
Exactly.
You
Mhm.
know, you can make time for this, you can make time for that. I know a lot of people these days are making time, or time is making them. What they say sometimes, you can do time, or you could let time, you could do time, or time will do you.
Mhm.
Uh, as I was
I
researching this show, I thought about Ecclesiastics,
mhm.
the third verse, 1 through 8, the third chapter, 1
Okay.
through 8. Ecclesiastics, there's a time to be born and a time to die.
Time die. Yep.
This is from the New International Version. a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a
Right.
time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. You know, Jill, I think about that more and more as I get older. I think about that because there's a time for everything.
Absolutely.
And I think about our
Absolutely.
role as photographers. I think about, because we're also storytellers, because photography tells a story. It's always told
Exactly.
our story, the story others want to erase, but it can't because we are part of the fabric of this country. We
Oh,
are the
absolutely.
fabric of this world. We are part of time itself.
Like I said, they brought us over here on ships, and you look at basically how they just disrupted our lives, but we still basically managed to move ahead and move forward in a positive direction. And even though we kept moving forward in a positive direction, you still have people trying to push us back and hold us back. And that's what my next exhibition is going to be about, reparations. I'm taking research back to, say, 1400s, 1500s, 1619, 1619, when 20 of the ancestors walked across Hampton, Virginia, and, how they basically, this is what they did with their lives, and bring it forward on where we are today.
And that's about time, how we have brought it forward over time, how we, in
Absolutely.
spite of everything, how we have developed, how we have grown, in spite of everything. We're like the plants that just keep growing, or the roots
Exactly.
that keep
Even
growing.
though they may cut us down, but we still manage to,
Yes,
pick up
indeed.
here and, reroute over here and, move on and, like I said, keep doing better and better.
Okay. You know, Jill, a lot of people are preoccupied with a lot of things. There's a lot of things are going on. A lot of things are occupying our time. Social media, how we going to pay the bills, our work, just stress, just and all the things that come with it, anxiety.
Exactly. I mean, we're
You
going through
know,
that right now with going
yes,
through that right now. People can't get on a plane. They've been at the airport like 2 and 3 days, waiting 4 or
yes,
5 hours just to sit back trying to, get from point A to point B. You got a major holiday coming up, and you're now looking at, the catastrophe that it's going to cause because, people are not going to be able to get from point A to point B in a timely fashion. So, these are the things that, we just really need to kind of look at. I've been, especially on social media, I've been telling all my friends, make sure that everybody gets out there and vote in the midterm elections. Because, even when we were doing voter registration tables, it was just, I don't know, just, not pushing people, but, we had ballots, we had forms out there, we had ballots out there, telling people to come out and vote. Why people decided, I don't know, and just kept walking. Why not basically, look at doing something that's going to help better yourself and better your life and putting the right people in there to kind of help you, move your life forward. I just still don't understand that.
absolutely. Neither do I. You know, it's all about time. It's time, maybe, and it comes sometimes. I can't help think, Jill, that some people maybe think that their time on this earth doesn't matter. Whether I
I don't
vote
know
on
why they
that,
don't.
whether I do this on that, because it won't matter. I dare say I was walking by a store one day. It was a store with a window display, and it was a hat. There's a bunch of hats in the store, Jill, baseball caps,
Right.
and they said, "Why should I care?" And that broke my heart. Why should you
Absolutely.
care? Because your time on this earth matters, people. What you give matters. It may not matter
Exactly.
to you, but it does matter to somebody. Because if it
Exactly.
didn't matter, why would they be suppressing your vote this way?
Exactly. The
It
same people
does
that's been there
matter.
forever.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. What does
They still want to
time
basically put
mean to you?
time means a lot God needs a lot, especially trying to move forward, especially after, you get age, you're aging, and you
Mm-hmm.
get to a point where, certain things are like shutting down in your life. You've gone to school, you've worked, and, you're trying to bring your life forward. You want to step back down, look at the memories, and you look at all your hard work that they're really trying to take away from you. A lot of the benefits that, sacrifices that you made, you're shutting all of that down. And why? I tell people, when you work and put this aside and do this, you've earned that. No one should be able to come in and kind of take that away from you just because, it may work for some of us, but not for all of us. Or, I just kind of look at, especially people in DC, it's like the greed factor. As long as we can basically do this, that, and the other, they don't really care basically how it affects other people. And that's, like I said, that really depends on a lot of the people. You need to get out here and vote and put the right people in there that's going to be looking out for our best interests.
You know, Jewel, we're talking about time here. Time in your
Mm-hmm.
mental health, time in your physical health, time in your spiritual
Right.
health.
Absolutely.
I've done a few shows about the ancestors and what they meant to me,
Mm-hmm.
how I have been inspired. I
Right.
think about the sacrifices they made, the time they spent walking here
Exactly.
and there just to make sure, just to assure that their children and their grandchildren will have a better life, that their
Absolutely.
time on this earth would be better. One of
Mm-hmm.
my heroes, Jewel, I talked about often was Fannie Lou Hamer.
Oh, yes.
This woman didn't go further than the fourth grade, but she spent
But
this time on this earth productively because she
that's
wanted to
right.
make sure that she had the vote, the right to vote, because she understood that the
Yep. The
right to
voting
vote
mentors.
meant something. It meant the pathway to a better life.
That's right.
So she
And she
spent
didn't
her
let them shut her
time.
down.
She spent her time as a warrior. She spent her time as an activist. She spent her
Mm-hmm.
time getting the word out. No matter where she went, that your time and your life meant something.
Absolutely. Like I said, even though she was, you know, beaten and, they tried to hold her back, but she still kept pushing ahead and she still kept putting her voice out there. And she wasn't letting nobody shut her down, nobody, nowhere. And that's, she is somebody that, like I say, God is good because, he put people in our lives that kind of, to me anyway, to help
Well, when
and
you think
continue
about
to move
that,
you
Jill,
forward.
When you think about that, can you name someone or two who inspired you to think about your
But,
time more wisely, and whether it's in
well,
history?
I look at, basically the organization we're involved in, Teresa Freeman, and how Teresa, when she came in, gave us the opportunity to really learn so much from her. She took the time to work with us, and sit down and explain when we be sitting at the meetings and, making sure that when we went out, that we were basically, going out to really kind of help people. I never forget there was, someone running for, re-election,
And
and
Jill, please.
and she had us out there to, help us pass the word so
And,
they could basically be able to stay there and continue to do what they were doing for the
and what
community.
organization was she a member of? Was she part?
National Action Network.
Yes.
And like I said, these are the people that you learn a lot. You learn a lot from because you look at basically what they have been through, and they're able to basically speak to you about that and help you continue to move forward. And things that maybe they, they'll say they couldn't do, or they may have been like, kind of pushed back and they were still pushing forward, but they bring other people in to kind of help, move that voice. And, that's, like I said, one of the reasons why, I do a lot with activism, because there's just so much that really needs to be done. There's just so much that people need to hear about. There's so much that people need to see. Like I said, a lot of people sometimes are afraid to,
Well,
go
Jill,
out
you
there and
get it.
march
You
and do
get it,
whatever.
Jill. But what would you tell that skeptical young man or that young woman who doesn't feel that time on this earth means anything and they're just
You gotta
going about,
continue.
they're just going along to get along? Or I
No, you
dare
gotta
say,
continue to
because they don't
believe.
feel like their time on this earth won't be that long. What do
Yeah,
you tell
but
that person who's facing hopelessness, who's looking at a
you keep
hopeless,
moving forward.
and how do
Keep
you
moving
do that?
forward. It doesn't get easy sometimes, because even myself, you're up late and you're doing this, but you gotta, Bible said, be out there, You got to basically just keep moving forward. But you got to believe. You got to trust and believe.
How do
And,
you
let
move,
people know.
Jewel, how do you move forward when you feel that there's nothing to move forward to? I'm
You
going
got to sit back
outside,
and just look at where
my
you want to go.
environment is full of this, is full of negativity. Everywhere I turn, there's negativity, there's poverty, there's high unemployment, there's no opportunities to some of the people.
You still, you do what you can to help them. With the agency that I was basically with,
So
and like within the
what good is
Department of
my
Labor,
time on this
I see.
earth?
But what I'm saying is, with that one department that I was working with, I seen people come in. They would come in to social
Yes.
services. They would give us a list, and we had to check everything off because this is what went into our reports. And then, you look at basically how you sat down and you spoke with them. What is it you want to do? What is it that you want to go to school for? I saw always keep a list of like all the schools that we were in contact with. So if someone said, I want to do hair, I want to do this, I already had a point of contact that I could basically move somebody forward. And then, tell them this is what you have to do. After I came in and looked over their records, when I had to put my reports together to give to my manager, that you look at what you can do, phone calls that you can make, and, what I was able to help put them in contact, bring them in, do testing, see basically what levels they were, and then basically say, okay, we're going to send you here, because these are the agencies that can basically kind of help you continue to move forward. Even though they didn't basically give out a lot of grants, like one grant like every 3 years, but still, these people had the opportunity to at least come in and get some kind of funding to kind of, something to help them, look forward to and continue to move forward. That's the way I always looked at it. And, I did everything I possibly could when I worked, from the nonprofit, the Department of Labor, unemployment. I did everything I possibly could to help people continue to move, to at least try to move their lives forward.
In trying to move your life forward, Jewel, is there an image in your mind, a picture, a painting, or a post, some words when you think back that like this is a story of time, so beautiful, something that's have stayed in your mind, in your memory, that tells the story of time?
Wow, there's a lot.
I mean, one or two. I know you've got years of you got years of photography, but it's
Yeah,
something
but I
that
always been
what
kind
you
of look.
saw
Yeah, I
struck
always like
you
looked
in
at.
a certain way.
I always kind of looked at, some of the things like, what came to mind was just recently, and I seen a picture of like Rosa Parks, and basically, how she was sitting on that bus and they was telling her to get up, you have to move, and she said no. And you look at basically, she says, I'm not moving. Okay, they pulled her out, they forced her out, but you look at the commitment that she made, where, they shut down. They were able to shut it down for almost 300 and some odd days, where people basically didn't have a problem with walking, taking the bus, or making other transportation. And because of that, other people were able to then build their own bus companies and their own transportation, whatever they were going to do. And like I said, I had the opportunity of being at her funeral, and I'm telling you, I will never get it. When they had her body, that she was laying basically at the White House, and I tell you, it's just, my heart always just kind of went out, and I looked at, the sacrifices that she made and what she went through. But like I said, her voice still resonated, and we are where we are today because of that.
Yes, I remember that. I remember looking at that picture. I still see it in my mind.
Yeah.
You know, that time, that look of, that such proud, such pride, such defiance, such
Yeah.
beauty in the midst of all this chaos going on around. I'm going to sit there because time is on my side.
That's right.
Time is on my
And like
side.
that.
I'm on the right side of time. And I want people to know, I want people who watch this, I want them to know that your time is valuable.
Absolutely.
Yes, we have a lot of barriers. We have a lot of obstacles in our way. People put in obstacles in our way all the time, and they always have, Jewel. This is
They
nothing
sure
new.
have.
We've faced
Continuing to
greater
do so.
obstacles in the past, but we've
Yep.
always moved forward because time has been on our side. And the time
That's
is on
right.
your side, people. I want you to know that. Yes, there's a time for everything. There's a time to laugh and a time to cry, a time to mourn and a time to die.
All right.
There's a time is everywhere, but time is always on your side. You got
That's
to
right.
decide how you're going to spend it. You got to decide who you're going to spend it with. That's very
That's
important too, huh?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay? Because we just be real. There's some people who want to keep you where you at, Jewel.
True that. Very true.
You know? So,
But you prove them wrong, and you just keep moving forward. I
Jewel,
don't
we
care what
got to
setbacks. You just keep do what you got to do.
absolutely. You know, Jewel, as we prepare to wrap up, I want to thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you.
I
Yeah,
want to
because I
thank.
was like, I gotta, when I took that picture out of the four of us when we were basically there, and I
Okay.
was like, we haven't been together in a long time, and I just said, I kind of sent it, and like, maybe we can all get together when we all get some free time,
Oh,
and talk about
absolutely,
some of the things
absolutely.
that we're
When we
doing.
get some free time, isn't that some time is everywhere,
And,
and everywhere is
absolutely.
time. But I want you to know, I want to thank. Speaking of time, I want to thank BronxNet for giving us this time and giving us this platform. I want to thank you.
Oh, I want to thank you also, yeah,
You know,
and
for
Prospect.
I want to thank you, and I want you to know that your life is valuable. Your time
Absolutely.
on this earth is valuable. We need you. We need your talents. We need your
Mm-hmm.
skill sets. We
That's
need
right.
your brilliance. Okay?
That's right.
So,
So I thank you for calling me and having this time that we can sit back and really talk about some of the things that I hope when people are listening, it will help them make decisions or move forward or
okay.
start doing something different with their lives.
Okay. Jill, we're going to have to wrap up. But thank you again,
Okay,
beloved. Thank
you're
you
so welcome
again.
anytime.
Okay, from me to you,
Oh,
from Jill, from BronxNet. Thank you, beloved. Your time is valuable. Take care.